Welcome back, guys. So today we're going to be taking a look at the Wingman Converter SD from Brook. This is an adapter that I've been extremely excited for, as it allows the use of numerous different controllers for both the Sega Dreamcast and the Sega Saturn. Heck yes, we have options with arcade sticks now for both of these consoles. As you know, arcade sticks for these originals can be a little pricey for decent ones anyway. This really opens it up, so I'm excited for that. This allows the use of 360, Xbox One, Xbox Elite, PS3, PS4, and Switch Pro controllers on both of these Sega consoles. Really awesome. You could use both wired or wireless controllers, depending on what that controller you're using supports. So that is really cool. I know they made one previously just for the Dreamcast. The main difference between that one and this one, besides the Saturn compatibility, was that the previous version had 40 blocks of VMU memory, whereas this one has 200. We're going to take a look at how that functions in a moment. I think it's really neat. So there's the box. Not really much going on here. They did send this to me for purpose of review a little early. It's supposed to be coming out pretty soon. I believe it's going to retail for around $50. The box that I got, the unit that I got, did not come with instructions. So I don't know if the retail ones are going to have instructions in here. But for the most part, this is a plug and play device. But there are a few features that you do need to know how they work in order to get the most out of this. So hopefully they put a little insert in there. Otherwise, you just have to go to their website. So we're going to test this out on both the Saturn and the Dreamcast. Correction, we're only going to be testing Sega Dreamcast in this video. I'll go more into the reasons why at the end of the video, but there will be a whole separate video just for Sega Saturn testing later on. So let's get back to it. We're going to test it out on the Dreamcast first here. But as you see, I do have a few arcade sticks out here. The Hori Real Arcade Pro Soul Calibur 6 edition for the PS4 was a really cheap controller. They clearanced them out. I had to grab a couple. Really nice stick. Then I also have the Mayflash F500 Elite with Sanwa buttons. The 8BitDo N30 Bluetooth and wired arcade stick over there. I changed all the buttons and whatnot on that because it wasn't that great to begin with. It's okay now. Then I also have this Hori Fighting Stick Mini for the Switch. I'm only going to use this one right here. Reason being, there's no point in me swapping around to show that they work. They all work, and they work exactly the same. So I'm not going to swap around here. But here we go. So with the adapter plugged into the Dreamcast, you do have a couple LED lights on there. Now, that comes in, pretty important here anyway, as there's a couple modes for both consoles. So on the Dreamcast, you have a gamepad mode and an arcade stick mode. And right now we are in arcade stick mode. The LED is red on the bottom there, or to my left here, as you can see that. So arcade stick mode is what I want it to be in when I'm using an arcade stick. But on the Dreamcast, you can have it in both modes and the arcade stick works just fine. On the Saturn, it's a whole other story. We'll get into that in a moment. But in order to change that, you would hit, we'll go into the gamepad mode. So we'll hit select and triangle to go into gamepad mode, and the LED should turn green. So the select button is going to be the share button. So we hit that. Simple. Change the LED to green. Now we're in gamepad mode. It'll still function just fine, but I want it in arcade stick mode on the Dreamcast, as all the buttons function exactly the way I would expect them to. So we'll hit the share and cross button, and it changed back to red. So we are good there. Now, the other cool thing with, like I said, with there being 200 units of VMU memory built into this, you can swap, saves around if you actually have another VMU. You're not just stuck with that. There's options. You could have a second controller plugged in, use that VMU for some of your games, but some games do require the memory to be loaded from the first controller port. So there's some workarounds here. It's nice that VMU memory is there, as you can copy and swap around between other VMU units if you need to. So really nice. Everything that I've tested with the memory on this works just fine. Had no issues. So back to testing out this game here. So as you see, we have just a little training mode up. I haven't done anything with configuring buttons or whatnot. Just having it in arcade mode, everything functions fine. Left, right, up, down. The top row, the first three, is going to be light, medium, fierce. Bottom row for kicks, light, medium, and fierce. it just, boom, it just freaking works for the Dreamcast. I had to do nothing, and everything just flows perfectly fine. Now, if you're using a GDEMU, which I am, I did notice prior to doing a firmware update, because I did get a firmware for this, if you were in the GDEMU menu and you selected a game, it might reset and the adapter might go back to like standard mode or gamepad mode, so you may have to keep an eye on that. But since I updated the firmware, I got their latest firmware, I haven't had that issue at all. But as you see, everything works just fine. Now, we do have a few functions that we could do here besides changing the modes here. So you do have a remap function that allows you to remap the buttons if you so choose. So this works perfectly fine on the Dreamcast. We'll go ahead and test that out now. So it says that to get into it, you got to hit start and the PS button at the same time. So we did that, and then the LED on the middle there has turned off. Now we're going to choose the function button, what we want to change. So let's say we want the square button, light punch, to be fierce punch for whatever reason, or R1. Swap it to whatever you want. This is just an example. So we'll go ahead and press that. From here, we're going to hold select and press whatever buttons we want to remap to that button. So I'm just going to do just the fierce punch. So we'll hit it, release all buttons, press start, press the PS button. It saved it. The light is back on. So let's go ahead and test that out. As you see, we now have the fierce button there. The fierce button is still over here. It just remapped that. It didn't swap them, just remapped. So that can come in handy, I guess, in certain situations. But now, if you want to go ahead and clear that, we can clear that. So to get back into that, we're going to hit start and PS button. Boom, the light went off. And now, if we want to clear everything, we would hold start and select as the instructions here say. And it'll just clear everything. Otherwise, if you just want to clear one button, you would choose it, press it, and then press start to clear it, and then press the PS button to get out. So we're just going to clear it all. So let's press start and select, or options and share. So we press those down at the same time. Go ahead, press start, hit the PS button. It's saved, the light's back on, and then boom, we have our light punch back. Everything's in order to the way it should be. Now the other thing you got is turbo. So we can change turbo here. So to get in the turbo, or you can assign turbo, we would press select in the PS button. Boom, select in the PS button, light is off. So we're ready to choose. So we're gonna go ahead and hold select and choose the buttons we want as turbo. So that would be the share button. We'll just do light punch. Press it, release all buttons, press start, press the PS button, light's back on, it's saved. It's a process, man. I can't remember for the life of me how to do this without like referencing it. But as you see, turbo is set. Pretty cool stuff. Now, if we want to go ahead and turn that off, clear it, it's going to be similar to the other thing. Select in the PS button. So share in the PS button, light turned off. And then if you want to clear it all, select and start. So we held select and start, let go, press start, press the PS button, light came back on. We're good. You might see in like the Dreamcast, it'll like, because the adapter's like resetting or whatever, you might see like the VMU thing pop up. But there we go, back to normal, back to normal. So there's that for the Dreamcast. Everything functions just fine and perfectly well. Really excited for that. So there you go, Sega Dreamcast, everything functions perfectly fine. I'm not running into any issues using this on the Dreamcast. You can even hot swap controllers if you want. As long as the Wingman SD is still plugged into the console, you could plug in other controllers to it, like say a DualShock 4. You can connect that wirelessly or plug in another wired controller. It just works. No issues there. Now, the reason why I'm going to do a Saturn video separately is not just because of the runtime of this video already being kind of long, but because the device isn't functioning perfectly for me at this time. I've had a lot of conversations with Brook concerning the issues that I'm running into. Now, does the device work on the Saturn? Yes, it does. Can I use any of these arcade sticks or controllers? Yes, I can. But the problem that I've ran into is that I can't remap buttons. Now, is that a huge issue? It may not sound like it, but for me it is, because on all the arcade sticks that I have, that R2 button is on the bottom row, third button over. So that should be my Fierce Kick and Capcom fighting games, right? Well, when I use this on the Saturn, it does not allow me to remap the buttons, and the R2 button for the Saturn is designated as like one of the shoulder buttons, the R button. That might not seem like an issue, but most of the Capcom fighters will not allow you within the game to change that button. So I can't change that to a Fierce Kick. It usually just defaults to like a triple button press. There's a couple games you can make it work, but really what needs to work here is that you could remap that, because the fourth button over on the top of these arcade sticks registers as the high kick for the Saturn. I need to be able to swap those around without having to rewire my controller. I don't want to have to do that. That's a solution, yes. But with that said, I'm giving Brooks a moment to take a look at this issue. I've been communicating with them quite a bit lately. I love this device, but this one issue, it's not supposed to happen. So I'm not sure why it's happening to me. So their engineers are looking into it a little further. See, maybe I'm doing something wrong, or maybe there's something wrong on their end. I did update this with a new firmware that they gave me, so I'm not 100%. So we will do that video separately. If they don't fix it, I'm still going to have to do the video and just show how this works. But at this time, I just wanted to show what I could show at the moment. Works great on the Dreamcast. Doesn't work 100% on the Saturn as far as the functions that it's supposed to have. Yes, you could still use it, but remapping buttons just is really important, especially with the way these Capcom fighting games are set up as far as the in-game config goes. Sure, there's other games that you don't have to worry about that, but for me, I do. So I'm trying to work with them, see what they can figure out, and I'll get back to you guys. So hey, really do appreciate y'all hanging out with me. With that said, I will catch y'all next time. Peace out, bye-bye, and boom. Bye.